Welcome to the Creator Resource Virtual Panels, where as often as possible, we'll be hosting discussions that cover topics that are helpful to you all as you navigate the comic book industry, and in this case, the arts industry and just the e-commerce industry in general. So running an online store is a big undertaking, from listing and pricing items, shipping and logistics, managing stock, and more. And in times of lockdown and an uncertain future, e-commerce is an essential part of the most successful business models. In this discussion, we'll talk to successful entrepreneurs who utilize the online model for their businesses. We'll learn some of the ins and outs of what they do and what you can do for your own businesses. I'd like to welcome our guests to the panel today. You can tell I'm not talking to people ever anymore. Please give a warm welcome to Andrea Demonakos. I think I've already messed up that name. Christoff Visscher. And Megan Wyreweden. So to kick things off, I'd love if you could each tell us a little bit about yourselves, what you do, and your businesses. So Andrea, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. So I'm based just north of Seattle, and my business is called White Squirrel. And we help artists with their online stores. We manage it. We take product photos. We list the inventory. We can do everything from sales taxes to shipping. And we also work with small artists and publishers and other creators who don't want to handle the shipping on their Kickstarters.
Amazing. And Christoff, how about you?
Hi, my name is Christoff Visscher. I'm the owner of Cantrip Candles, which is a candle store that makes fantasy-themed fragrances, so taverns, dungeons, temples, things like that. It's been running for about 5 years, mostly online or predominantly online, and then we've, in the last 2 months, opened up a storefront in Hollywood.
Yay, and congrats on that.
Thank you.
Cool.
And Megan.
I'm Megan. I run an online store called The Creeping Moon. I founded it 9 years ago when I was still in college. I do basically stuff with my artwork, so like prints, enamel pins, stickers, stationery, any like paper products, whatever I can like, what can I put my art on, you know? And I also made 2 tarot decks, and I actually work with Andrea as of last year for fulfillment for my shop.
Yeah.
I'm about to work with Andrea for fulfillment for my shop because that sounds so cool.
You heard it here first, guys.
It's great. It was definitely like a huge weight off my shoulders, just because I was like, prior to that, I was just like spending most of my time like shipping out packages and like worrying about that stuff. So like I definitely have a lot more free time. I'm definitely less stressed. And yeah, I'm just really grateful that Andrea and her company exists. So yeah,
this is not sponsored by White Squirrel, but
Cool.
Andrea is extremely excellent as a human being, and you know, you'll hear more about her job too and what she does. So you can also get in touch with her. Again, not sponsored by White Squirrel. So many creators sell their wares at conventions, events, and other in-person things in the before times. Did your businesses begin immediately as online businesses? And what was kind of your journey to where you are now? Megan, do you want to start with that one?
Sure. So like I said, I started my business while I was in college, and I think like I did my very first convention like right before that. I think it was SakuraCon, and I was, you know, starting very small and like sharing have a table with another artist. And I just started, you know, signing up for more and more conventions after that one turned out to actually be kind of lucrative. And yeah, I just kind of like snowballed from there, like did more conventions. I don't do a ton per year. I do like maybe like 5 or 10 per year. But I'm always like trying out different shows and stuff. So it's been a lot of fun, but I'd say the most of my revenue is from my online shop.
And Christoff, what about you?
Cantrip Candles started as a online shop and then also went into the route of conventions, but significantly less than you, Megan. We, I think, do 4 a year, and they're all around the Los Angeles area. with it being predominantly online, I went the social media game. So I was just basically like, I'm going to have an online shop and basically act like I'm doing conventions on Twitter. And that's kind of the strategy that I went for. And then it's kind of just snowballed from there, to quote Megan as well.
And Andrea too, I guess that question as well. And on top of that, kind of like, how did you suss out the need for White Squirrel?
I was talking to an artist at New York Comic Con in 2016, and she was telling me that people kept asking her to have an online store, and she didn't have time to do that. So I was unemployed at the time, and I came back the next day, and I was like, "Hey, what if I do that for you?"
Nice.
And it slowly built from there, based on word of mouth, mostly through comic book artists and animators who go to conventions. And we do all online sales. Like, I've had a presence at 3 conventions, but that's specifically representing one client, sort of managing the table for her while she had to go to panels, that kind of thing. So our business is 99% online and always has been.
I think I found you guys on Twitter too.
Yay.
Social media game.
Yeah.
It's a big game. It's the game these days, I would argue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you find, Christoff, this is not a question I kind of was planning, but like, do you feel like social media is entirely where you kind of started growing your business, like, from, I guess?
I would say so. A couple of days ago, I was thinking, man, for as much as I don't like social media, I think that there's some evils that come with us all being in front of our phones all the time. But Cantrip Candles is completely dependent on it, and it wouldn't be where it is if it didn't find its little niche in the social media world. Especially if you're running an online store, you have so many resources at your fingertips by being able to just put out a picture and it counts as an advertisement, put out a post and it's both funny and it's also an advertisement. Anything that you put on social media is technically an ad. So I think it's a must these days if you have an online store.
Mm-hmm. Megan, do you utilize social media as well too, or is it more word of mouth these days for you?
I'm not sure about that because I feel like I got a lot out of promoting my work at conventions, but it's like, that's kind of hard to track down, like, I'm not sure like who found me at this convention versus who just like found me on like Instagram, but I do use.
Oh my gosh, sorry guys.
So unprofessional. Oh my gosh.
Andrea's just super busy.
Yeah. I do have the biggest presence on Instagram, and I feel like my biggest supporters are also on there, but I at the same time, like, a lot of that traffic is like on Instagram is like people who like posted my tarot deck, and like, it's kind of like a word of mouth on Instagram kind of thing, which is kind of cool because that means I get to do like a very bare minimum of my own, like, promoting my own stuff. I just like kind of get to have it in the backseat a little sometimes, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And Andrea, how reliant on social media are you for clients and work?
So personally, my personal account, I do a lot of yelling about online stores and politics and other stuff. So I did a thread last year when Emerald City Comic Con was canceled about how to start an online store, because at the time it hadn't been canceled. People were choosing between taking care of themselves and going to a convention. So I was like, if you're worried about whether or not you should put yourself at risk or if you can pivot to an online store, here's how to do it. Mm-hmm. And that got a lot of traction. I don't think any of those people converted to actual customers or clients of mine. And the actual White Squirrel Co. Twitter account is mostly just sharing and retweeting work that our artists are doing and liking a lot of photos. I think most of the referrals we've gotten from social media have been someone tweeting just like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. Does anyone like have a recommendation on like, if I never have to pack another package again, like I will be happy. Like, does anyone have a recommendation? And then someone will mention me and we'll just pop up like, hey. So it's a little bit of social media, but it's also same as Megan, hard to measure.
I definitely sent artists to White Squirrel. I'm like, because I definitely have friends who are also like, I'm tired. I'm like, hey, I know someone who can help.
Yeah.
Again, not sponsored. So
by the end of this, you should just be like, it's sponsored. It's sponsored by White Squirrel.
Just kidding. It's totally sponsored. So I want to talk a little bit about the platforms you use to run your stores and businesses. Do any of you use more than one? And has this process or the platforms changed over the years? Christoff,
Sure.
start with you.
Of course. I started so I've used two platforms thus far. The first one was Wix for the website design and also order fulfillment and all of that. And the only reason why and then I upgraded to Shopify about a year ago. And that was just because of scaling. I started with Wix originally because I like the flexibility of a custom website with Wix. You can really do some unique looks. But as the scaling went up and things kind of grew, I realized Shopify is a game changer because they're designed for people like me that have growing companies. So it scaled really well. But I look back fondly on Wix. Doing taxes, though, using Wix is a real pain in the butt. So advice, maybe skip that if you have a big plans for taxes.
And Megan, what about you?
So I've actually been on Etsy for these entire 9 years. I started it because I was just like, again, in college, I was like, oh, this seems like a cool website. That's not eBay, because 9 years ago, the e-commerce landscape was so much different. And ever since then, I just never I never felt the need to move to another website. I don't know. It's worked for me so far. Their system works. And yeah, also another big thing is that, I get a lot of traffic from Etsy and from their search function. And that also ties in with me not having to promote myself as much online because I get customers fed to me, and speaking of taxes, they handle taxes as well, for every state, every county. They also do the new VAT thing with the UK, that's all taken care of. And so that just that makes it really easy. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I stuck with them, is just because I'm I don't really want to put in a ton of work of just moving to a new platform,
And
I remember, sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
I remember thinking that I was going to do Etsy when I first started Cantrip, because I was thinking, man, you're going to miss out on so many people that are already in that world. And the keyword searching is so effective on Etsy. If you look at one type of tabletop candle, you'll see all the competition as well. And so I was thinking, oh, you're really going to miss out. Ultimately, I decided not to, because I was thinking, well, potentially if it got bigger than Etsy, I'd have to make a website down the line. So I said, why don't we just do the website now? But it was a lot more work up front because, as you said, Megan, Etsy takes care of a lot of stuff for you.
Yeah, they do.
Andrea, I know, again, you do a lot of all-encompassing stuff. But do you have any kind of thoughts on those platforms and which ones, if you're starting up a client, would you give a recommendation to any of them?
Yeah. So Etsy is a marketplace and it's extremely good for sort of random referrals. I have a client who started making face masks in the spring of last year, and she exploded with the amount of work she had to, the amount of work she had to do and the amount of orders she had. But I think it's super helpful if you don't have an already existing social media platform, or if you don't have an existing audience, if you're trying to build it. I have some clients who are pretty successful in terms of orders and still love Etsy and want to stay on it. My preference is Shopify typically. I recommend it to clients who have a steady income from their store, who know that every month they're going to make at least a couple $100s, so that they can pay for the monthly fee for it. But I've also worked with Squarespace Commerce, Store Envy, Big Cartel, Equid, and WooCommerce. And in general, for people who want to be as hands-off as possible, Etsy and Big Cartel are my suggestions, because they take care of taxes, like you guys said. I think for people who want more customization, I typically refer them to Shopify or Squarespace, just based if they want to like integrate it with their current website, that kind of thing.
Awesome. So that brings me into logistics, I guess, here. How do all of you manage the logistics of running your businesses? What kind of tools or softwares help you best organize and manage everything? Megan, I suspect, Etsy is probably kind of the answer for that one for you.
Yeah,
but
it is. Well, I don't know, logistics are easy, but they're also not easy, because like ordering prints is like, pretty straightforward. The big problem is like my tarot decks, because I order like 1,000 to 2,000 at a time. And when I was first starting out, when I did my first Kickstarter, that was tricky because I suddenly had like a 10 shipment box in my apartment lobby, which was kind of tricky. So, but yeah, now that Andrea kind of takes care of most of the logistics and stuff, like I said, I will also just like have stuff come here and then I'll bring it up to her, or just have most of my stuff sent directly to her. I think this is kind of silly, but I think one of the things that like helps me keep organized nowadays is just like having like a physical planner, just like, writing things down so I don't like forget things, because, I have like a constant list of things to do, and sometimes I forget and then it stresses me out. But yeah, just like writing things down just like really, really helps, like writing things down physically. Yeah.
I feel you. I'm like in the same boat. Like, I mean, I'm not doing all of that, but that is exactly how I like internalize and process everything. Like my to-do list doesn't stick in my head until I physically write it down on like a sticky note or something. So
yeah.
And then it's like on my laptop, I'm looking at things right now that I have to do. So it's effective.
Mm-hmm.
Christoff, what about you?
I am also a big believer in writing it down. To a fault, there are so many sticky notes around this office right now. So sometimes it's a little hard to tell, like, wait, what do I have to do? But it's so real. Like there's so many sticky notes. But it feels really nice when you do notice an old sticky note, like I already did that. You rip it off the wall, you crumple it up, and it's done. So writing stuff down is super helpful. I also think being able to switch mindsets from creator to supplier or creator to fulfiller or whatever you need to do in order to realize like you have to turn off the art section of your brain right now because it's not going to get the logistics done. And that sucks. And it's really hard to kind of force yourself into the roles that you don't want to do when you're running a business. It's so nice to just be creative and artistic all the time, but logistics are logistics. So I encourage writing it down and then also knowing that it's not going to, like, if someone enjoys logistics, they usually don't enjoy creative things as much. So if you're kind of a too tight, or if your brain has both sections of it, then know that it's going to be rough to get through logistics. It's always going to feel like a slog.
And Andrea, what about you?
So I use a software called Shipping Easy, and it is, I think, pretty much designed for like large manufacturers like auto parts or something like that, but I use it, and I have it linked up to the storefronts of 50 something clients. So it pulls all the orders into one place, and that is like the core of our business is, we can see how many orders have come in from what store, what products they're having. We can filter, we can organize, we can sort our inventory, all that kind of stuff. And that's like how I figure out what we're going to do each day. Like, we're going to work on this project. One of my employees is going to focus on these orders because they are a certain age, or this one over here because it has to be done by a certain time. And then the other half of my time is spent pretty much in the G Suite, Gmail, Google Docs, Google Sheets. I spend a lot of time making spreadsheets, which is not a thing I ever thought I would have to do with my life. And I'm working on finding a solution that works for the multiple employees I have in different locations, something like Airtable or Slack or something like that. But so far, don't really have that worked out.
Getting there.
Yeah.
You mentioned shipping. So actually, we got a question from Twitter from Lauren White Jackson, and she wrote in to ask specifically about shipping. She wanted to know if any of you had tips for shipping after receiving an order, and if you could share some of those. So I feel, again, like Megan's going to be like, Andrea is my answer, but I don't want to, if you have any tips from before times when you didn't have Andrea.
Yeah, so I still do some shipping, just like, if I have a thing in stock here at my house, I'll like ship it out. I feel like with like shipping, like having good communication with the customer, like setting like, having, when we'll ship out, like blaring in big letters as much as possible in the listing, just so that saves a lot of time for both parties. I recently started using Pirate Ship as well for shipping fulfillment. They're pretty easy because you can like paste the address, and I use them for my wholesale orders sometimes if I have to ship those out myself. They're really easy, and I really like them because if you talk to their customer service, they answer in pirate puns, which is yeah, they're like all hands on deck, getting this getting this sorted out for you. Yeah, so it's great. I recommend Pirate Ship, but also Etsy's shipping system is pretty easy as well. Like you just like enter the weight and stuff. I don't know what else to say. With like packaging and stuff, I used to go like all out on packaging, but later on, I'm just like, I don't have time for that, so I'm pretty minimal, and I also try to, go the eco-friendly route. So I'm not like, I feel like adding freebies and stuff, like adding a ton of freebies is kind of a waste of resources. So I don't really do that anymore. So yeah, that's my spiel on shipping.
That's great. No, it's all really super helpful stuff for everybody, I'm sure. Christoff, what about you?
Yeah, I fully agree on cutting out the freebies. I think it's very tempting starting out to say, well, I want to set myself apart with handwritten thank you letters or including a sample of my next product. It will become so overwhelming so quickly because you're basically starting on a foundation of, well, if I'm doing it now, I'm going to do it in 2 years. I'm going to do it in 3 years. So I have business friends that still do the handwritten letters and it works for their business model, but I'm assuming in their process, they don't have as many hands-on things. So the time dedicated to the handwritten note is allotted. But whenever you're deciding things as a business, know that it's only going to scale up if your goal succeeds. So start very simple. Cantrip Candles still packs with craft paper, cardboard boxes, and that's it. There's nothing fancy about our shipping because at the end of the day, it goes into recycling. So, and with e-commerce getting so popular and it's the new standard of life pretty much with the pandemic, ain't nobody cares about the color of your wrapping paper. They might, but probably not as much as they care about the product.
Yeah. As somebody who buys a lot of stuff online, I can attest to this. It's like a nice little surprise if you get something extra and stuff, but I am in it for the thing I bought and I'm tearing stuff apart and that's what I'm after.
I think it would be really cool to go back to personalized shipping, but for where we're in right now, it just feels like it's so fast paced. People will probably be more likely to lose your thank you note in the package than actually read it, I think.
Yeah. And Andrea, what about you? Shipping is a big component of what you do. It's almost one of the biggest, I'm assuming.
Yep. It's so funny. Like we all have different businesses, but I completely agree with what Christoff and Megan were saying, that like when we first started, I was running my business from a coffee table in a 1-bedroom apartment, and I was wrapping every single pen in pink tissue paper and using sparkly washi tape because we had like a couple hundred orders. And now we have over 7,000 a month. And no one's got time to do anything.
7,000 pieces of washi tape.
Yeah, and like, I do because I work with so many clients who have so many different aesthetics and different products. We do sort of cater the way that we're doing things to each client. So for Megan, everything we use is recyclable materials. And typically if we do insert anything, it's a dark color, like tissue paper, that kind of thing. For some of my other clients, their brand is more neon, more like bright pink or blue or purple. So we'll make sure that the bubble mailers we buy are vibrant and that you can see them. Like, to me, opening a package and having, 3 extra notes and also some tissue paper is cute, but also then I get really anxious about what to do with all that extra inserts. Like, I personally at home, I have so many little extra pieces of tissue paper that I like didn't want to get rid of. It's dumb. I don't know why I do it. But
I get it.
Yeah, like I feel like you could put the same amount of effort into having your brand on a box, or having, all of my packages are going to go in teal bubble mailers. And that's why my customers are going to know that like that one is theirs. And I feel like that is just as powerful in terms of branding and getting people excited about your stuff. General shipping tips. We're based in the US, so they're US specific, but you can sign up for a business account with the United States Postal Service really easy. And there are a lot of features there that are super helpful for people. They can come pick up packages from your house. You can get a retail rate. If you sign up for stamps.com, they have discounted shipping, similar to Pirate Ship. If you're dealing with international shipments, I apparently some dude from UPS called me one day, and he was like, based on our data, we've noticed that you've been shipping things via UPS. So like, we want to give you a discount to say thank you for doing that. And I was like, sure, buddy, like fine. So using different services basically and reaching out for different options is something that I really recommend. Trying different suppliers, trying different postage systems. Like Pirate Ship is one I keep hearing about. So it's one I want to check into. Sort of like letting yourself figure things out and not think that like your first choice is the one that you have to stick with forever. Like you can make changes, you can find what works for you.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and order in bulk. Order your packaging in bulk.
That's a huge one. I'm just now learning that lesson, and it's been 5 years. But yeah, order your packaging in bulk.
Only if you have space. Don't do what I did.
Well, yeah, I didn't have space.
In a small bedroom, it's not good. But if you can, do it in bulk.
I feel like, again, at some point in time, you're just going to pull down the curtain and be like, unless you have this, like.
I mean, our warehouse is 2,600 square feet, so
Holy moly.
for boxes.
A lot bigger than your old 1-bedroom.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm really interested now in what a typical day looks like when it comes to running your businesses. How much time do you devote to them? I mean, I'm guessing it kind of like varies based on demand and stuff, but I'm really curious. Andrea, do you mind if I throw it back to you, since I feel like I've been picking on you last, but like.
Okay. So it depends on what time of year. Generally, March is the busy season in terms of the first half of the year, and then November is another busy season for us. Until pandemic happened, and now everything is always the business season forever.
Yep.
There's just been an increase in sales across the board, which is great, but also a lot. So I work 9 to 6, 5 days a week in my warehouse. And then another at least 12 hours at home on the computer on the weekends, doing data entry, spreadsheets, that kind of thing. Here at the warehouse, I have one part-time employee and one full-time employee who are specifically concerned with fulfillment. So most of the time I will be handling emails and client relationships and new projects and building, the actual product listings for a store on my computer, and then going over and actually putting things in boxes for a couple hours. So it sort of depends on what our resources are, but generally spend a lot of time working on things I wasn't expecting to be working on. So a lot more emails than I expected, that kind of thing.
Megan, what about you?
Well, pre White Squirrel, I, basically spent my mornings and afternoons first like responding to customer emails, and then like packing up the boxes and stuff myself. And then whatever I need to do afterwards, I'll just like do it throughout the evening. But now I'm thankfully I have more time to actually like do more artwork. So I will usually spend my mornings, answering customer emails so that I get that out of the way. And then like whatever like logistical stuff I have to do, like ordering supplies or like ordering prints or, talking to manufacturers and stuff. And then afterwards it's like, I can just do whatever. I can like go to the gym. I can, do art, whatever projects I had. And that's kind of like, I think I've been really trying to be better at is just like, work-life balance and just like unplugging sometimes. Like, I now have this rule where I don't check my email until I've had my morning coffee, because then I'm actually in like a good mood. Because before I was like, checking my Etsy messages like while I'm lying in bed in the morning when I first wake up. And it's like, that's not good. Like, don't do that. Just like the emails can get answered later, like don't burn yourself out.
I have that rule too. No work in bed.
Yeah. Surprisingly hard to adhere to that.
Yep.
You
also
touched on
checking at like 1 a.m. or like at dinner time and stuff like
that. You touched on something that's really important, I think, too. We have a lot of like comic artists and illustrators that use Creator Resource, and, so much effort and energy goes into running your online businesses. And, like, when do you even have time to make new art when you're kind of like at that level of demand? So like, it sounds like offloading some of that has really helped to kind of bring back the art to your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Cause I was considering my options, I was like, I could sell my tarot deck to a publisher. I could like hire someone to be my store manager. And then I found White Squirrel and I was like, oh, this makes things a lot easier for me. I'm going to do this instead. So yeah, it was, definitely recommend.
The advice I once got was like, look at what you're doing that you don't want to do anymore. Like because it's your business, you should be able to do what you want to do. Because why else are you killing yourself for this business? So look at the thing that you don't want to do. And for me, it was answering customer service emails. So I hired someone to help me with that.
Yeah, I'll segue right after that. That's exactly where I'm at. So the last year has been odd for all of us, but I was finding that because as a creative, be it comics or candles, your worth is somehow tied into your product. You feel like, well, if my art's not moving, I'm not a good artist. And I have found that, again, that logistics versus creativity, I put so much energy into getting the business to where it is that I haven't done a dang creative thing in the last year. It's all been logistics. And as of today, I made a new scent and I was like, this feels so foreign, so not me. So I think it's really important. Like my biggest daily task that I do now is I write down 3 things for the business and 3 things for my personal life that I want to follow or achieve or whatever. And that's it. I don't have to-do lists that are 15 items long anymore because you won't get it done. Because all it takes is 2 emails to pop into your inbox that tangentially put you an hour behind schedule and you're screwed. So 3 things that I want for myself and 3 things that I want for the business. I only got 2 things done today. So
But that's okay.
that's great. That's 2 things that weren't done that were accomplished.
but like the world is so chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay that you weren't able to do all the things you wanted to. I think that's a thing that like it's part of capitalism, is the fact that like our productivity is irrevocably tied to our worth, and that, you know, we're supposed to keep working forever, and that's not a sustainable way to live. And
the fear that if I slow down on the work, the money will stop flowing, and then where will I be? And all of my friends are saying, well, that's not going to happen because look at the numbers, or look at the history. But it never seems to sink in as the creator. You think that fear is going to come true. So it probably won't come true.
Yeah.
And I'm sure your day-to-day too, Christoff, has changed exponentially now that you've just opened your storefront.
Mm-hmm. We are pinned to a clock now. We have to keep the store open. There has to be bodies in the shop, which is very different than when I was making it out of my apartment and my friends would come over to help fulfill or help make. And the schedule was very loosey-goosey now. And it's a moment of tension for all of us, because we're like, sometimes we just don't want to be here, but you have to be because it's a store. So that has been a change as well.
Yeah. So I don't want to take up too much more of your time. You all have been so amazing in joining me for this discussion and providing your insight. And like, I don't run an online store, but I personally just think this is fascinating, and you're all incredible. So I just want to ask you, what is something that you wished you knew right away when you launched your businesses? I know I can see everyone's faces kind of processing a bit. I'm like, should I give them a second here?
I got one.
Oh, I've got one too.
Okay, Christoff dinged in first there.
I wish that I knew, this sounds arrogant in my opinion, but I wish that I knew it would turn out as good as you pictured it. For me personally, it's very easy to think like, well, I'll try it, but it might not work. The default is it might not work, so there's always a backup plan. And I think leaning into the idea of like, what if it does work? Because if I had known where I would be, obviously you can't predict the future, but if I had worked with the assumption that it would go well as opposed to the assumption that it wouldn't go well, I think I would have taken more chances. I think the process would have been different, and it would have been a lot less stressful. So I think when you're starting a venture, be it an online store or whatever, tell yourself, I can't wait till this is going to be as great as I expect it to be, because it will probably make you make some smarter decisions along the way, as opposed to decisions just to cover your butt.
Andrea, what about you?
I wish that I had realized that I wasn't inventing the wheel. Like everything was so like, good. Was totally new to me. I was like, oh my God, like I have to figure out how, like what size box should this thing go in? Like
someone else has done it.
Yes, there are so many other people who've done it. Like I have been at the post office, and there's like a lady who makes pillowcases, dropping stuff off, and a guy who runs a boat part store. Like they repair boats, and he's there shipping things every day. And I'm like, of course there's another company that shipped things before. Like, why did this not occur to me? Like, what tools are they using? Like, what are their resources? Like, talk to, like a friend of a friend who works in like a warehouse. Like we have Funko is nearby here. So like, what are the Funko warehouse people doing? Where do they get their boxes from? Like there's auto parts manufacturers nearby. Like, how do they get bubble wrap? like kind of just, I thought that I couldn't do this because I didn't have a business degree, which I was dumb. I didn't need a business degree, but I should have, like, I wish that I had instead thought about the fact that there are so many other people who do similar things, that do logistics, that do shipping, they do customer service, that like could provide like advice. Like I asked other comic creators like how they had done their store, and I think that was a good step. But working with people in totally different industries, like it never occurred to me, and I really wish it had. I really wish I had talked to someone about pallet jacks earlier, and like I had, reached out. There's a box company nearby that I didn't even hear about until someone mentioned it to me. And they do like the boxes that like you can get salmon in, and like dog toy manufacturers and stuff. And I was like, I'll talk to those guys. And of course they have boxes that I can use. This is dumb. Why was I trying to do this by myself? Like, just remembering that there are other people who do the exact same thing you want to do. And you just have to find them and see what they do and copy them or ask them questions or whatever.
I understand where that mentality comes from, though, because if you're starting with a point of I can run a business or I can start a business, what else can't I do? And so there's this temptation, I'm going to do it all on my own, but nah, just ask some people for some tips.
Yeah.
Megan, what about you?
Definitely similar to what Christoff was saying about how hey, this is, going to work out. So yeah, just like keep at it. Cause when I first started out, I had no clue like what I wanted to draw. I was like, drawing stuff that I thought would be popular, like fan art and stuff. But I very quickly realized that, like drawing stuff that I like to draw and is way more better because, like the passion is in there. And I mean, not saying like fan art definitely is awesome and it definitely sells, but it wasn't.
What you saying, Megan? What are you saying, Megan?
Like I wasn't into it, like I'd rather draw like plants and other stuff, so yeah, just like doing what you really, really want to do is like, build it and they will come sort of the thing.
It's hard to realize, like looking at yourself, like what's unique about what you do. And I think that like your art is very unique, Megan, but I don't know if you would have been able to see that yourself until someone buys something from you and leaves a nice comment, or one of your friends is like, oh, that's really cool. That should be in a tarot deck or something. Like talking to other people to get their perspective on what you do and what's unique about it and interesting.
I think go ahead.
I was going to say, looping all that backwards, that kind of goes back into the social media aspect, because if you can find a way to take what makes you unique, Megan, and put that into your social media, that's what I try to do with Cantrip Candles. It's like the way I talk is the way that the social media is going to talk. And hopefully that works out well. But yeah, being authentic is very, very important.
Yeah. Because if you think about social media, like conventions, everything comes back to conventions in my head. Like think about your products at an artist alley. Like there's 20 other people in the same row as you. There's like 500 people all together. What is it about what you can offer that is different? And lean into that. And if it doesn't work, fine, lean into a different section of it. But like, yeah, sort of focus on your aesthetic, like build your brand over what you like and what you want to draw and you want to build for the rest, the next 10 years.
I was just like literally thinking about conventions too. And like you were talking about fan art, Megan, and, at conventions, you have those booths with like 50 feet of fan art just screaming at you and it's pinned everywhere and you can't escape it. And it's hard sometimes to literally just not be able to see anything else. And it's just like, well, this is clearly, I guess, what people want. But, it's just because it's like screaming and in your face, I think. And it's just important to do exactly what Andrea says and just kind of like stick to what you love doing. Because I think that translates ultimately, into something that people are going to respond to. Again, thank you all so much. This has been incredible. I want to obviously let people know where they can find all of your work and your businesses and stuff. So if you want to go around and tell everyone, Andrea, what company do you work for that this is definitely not sponsored by?
whitesquirrel.com. That's SQUIRREL. And that's where all of our clients are listed. You can see all of their stores. You can see what we do. Yeah, that's me.
Christoff.
You can find our products at www.cantripcandles.com or anywhere on social media for all that charisma at Cantrip Candles.
And Megan?
My Etsy store is etsy.com/shop/thecreepingmoon. And I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at The Creeping Moon if you want to follow me.
Amazing. And for us, if you liked this panel and want to check out more of our upcoming sessions, please hit the subscribe button. If you want more content from Creator Resource, you can visit our website, creatorresource.com, or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're all at Creator Resource. Additionally, and maybe most importantly, we need your support to keep the lights on with this project. Creator Resource is a passion project done in the spare time and energy of its contributors. To support our site and our expanding efforts, again, like these panels, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/creatorresource. We'll be working on some new tiers at some point in time, although I have so many things going on, but I swear I'm doing that at some point in time.
Three things a day.
Oh my God, I know. I gotta take that. I'm stealing that for sure.
I stole it from someone else. I didn't come up with it. Come on.
Well, I'll pay it forward to somebody else someday too. But again, for like the 5th time, you are all wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for providing insight to everybody. And anybody who's watching this who has additional questions or wants to shop all these amazing wares, please go visit Christoff, Andrea, and Megan's sites and shower them with your love and money.